Just a few years ago, a job in Silicon Valley meant you've made it. It was the dream destination for many, but only a few made it. In 2022, it all came crashing down. The tech industry was one of the worst hit last year. This is an industry that saw exponential growth for decades. Last year, they were forced to hit the brakes. And the misery seems to have spilled over to 2023. The year started with the biggest tech giants announcing layoffs. Google laid off 12,000 people just a few days ago. That's 6% of the company's workforce, also the biggest layoff in its history. Google's parent company is called Alphabet. Alphabet CEO is Sundar Pichai, one of the high-profile Silicon Valley CEOs of Indian origin. He said senior executives will also have to take a significant pay cut. But that's little consolation for people like Justin Moore. Justin worked in Google. He got laid off. Do you know how he found out? His account got deactivated in the middle of the night, and this man had worked in Google for 16 years, 16 years, all forgotten in a moment. Fired by logging you out of your account, no prior warning. It's a tragic story, and it's not a unique one. It's happening to way too many people in way too many companies. Next on the list is Google's competitor, Microsoft. It is set to fire 10,000 people by the end of March 2023. Microsoft, too, is led by an Indian origin CEO. His name is Satya Nadella. His company has more than 220,000 employees, 220,000, and these layoffs will affect around 5% of its workforce. In 2022, Microsoft reduced its staff by 15%. And the timing of the job cuts is interesting. Right after the company introduced its unlimited time off policy. For those being laid off, it seems like a bad joke. Next up is Amazon. In the beginning of January, Amazon announced its plan to lay off more than 18,000 people. That's around 1% of its total workforce, also the biggest job cuts in its 28-year history. Amazon has been trimming its workforce since November last year. Same with Meta, the parent company of Facebook. In November 2022, Facebook let go of 11,000 employees, mostly from Instagram, Facebook, and WhatsApp. This cut down the workforce by around 13%. Meta has also put a freeze on hiring till March this year. And remember, behind these staggering figures are faces. This is Himanshu. He was hired by Meta. He moved to Canada for the job. 2 days after he landed there, he found that he had no job. He'd been laid off. Now, these are the 5 biggest tech companies in the world. 4 out of these 5 are laying off people. Apple is the only exception so far. It has somehow managed to avoid brutal job cuts. And here's more sobering data. Close to 3,000 tech employees are being laid off every day this month. This is the average for the month of January, 3,000 per day. Big tech is having a midlife crisis, but the bloodbath is not limited to it. Recently, social media platform ShareChat laid off 20% of its workforce. Software giant IBM says it will cut 3,900 jobs. German enterprise software giant SAP says it plans to cut about 3,000 jobs. Chemical company Dow is going to fire 2,000 employees. 2 months back, HP Inc. announced 6,000 job cuts by 2025. 3M, the maker of Post-it notes and Scotch tape, plans to cut around 2,500 jobs. Spotify will lay off 6% of its workforce. And this is just a part of a very long list. If the last 2 years were about quiet quitting, doing the bare minimum at your job, this one seems to be a year of loud firings, mass layoffs all around. So if you still have a job to go back to on Monday, count yourself amongst the lucky.